Shalom, shalom. Another Sabbath, man. Shabbat shalom. All praises for another Sabbath day. We made it, right? Y'all see the lesson, Sabbath class, locating lust. Locating lust. Going into this because, recently a lot of brothers have been struggling with lust, and a lot of brothers have been discerning lust, right? So we got to go into this topic, man, because I feel like it's needed in this season right now. This is one of the things that always has a hold on men and some women, right? But it's something that should not be as strong as it is today because we have so much prophecy going on. We have so many other things that we could be worried about. But for some reason, lust always takes precedent over our lives. So we're going to get into the root of it, right? That's the whole point of the title, locating lust. You got to find it before you can deal with it, right? We're going to go into that a little bit. Before we get started, of course, we want to give all glory, all honor, and whenever we give praises, we give our praises to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who, through his son, right, who he sent as a medium, right, who he sent as a savior, an instrument of salvation, who his son himself told us to pray to him, right, who was a savior for the nation of Israel, right, sent for his people, right? And then also, you know what I'm saying, we want to say Shabbat Shalom, and peace and blessings to everybody that is going to get on and watch this video. Hopefully you guys are edified. I'm on with the two brothers, the two mighty brothers of the hopeful elect, Brother Denal and Brother Yeshaya. And we're going to get right with it. Go ahead. What do you say?
I just said shalom.
Shalom, right? And shalom to the women out there, especially our wives out there that's watching, being edified, right? Being good helpmeets at home, right? Hopefully they're edified as well. This would be good for both genders, right? There's only two genders, by the way. This will be good for both genders, man. But really, right, this is kind of a lesson kind of geared towards the men. So we're gonna get into it, man. Every good lesson starts with a definition, right? Every good lesson, hey man, we go into a lesson, it start with a definition. It's going to be a good lesson, right? Let's get the definition of lust, right? If somebody could read this definition of lust.
Con, lust, very strong sexual desire. That's the noun version. The verb, have a very strong sexual desire for someone.
Right. So I feel like that is a type of lust, right? Sexual desire. Yeah, that's a type of lust. But I like Wikipedia's definition a little better, and I'm gonna tell you why. Right? If you could read this.
Con, it says, lust is an intense desire for something.
Right.
Lust can take any form, such as the lust for sexuality, see libido, money, or power. It can take such mundane forms.
Right. So I like this one because it doesn't just limit it to sexuality. Right. It says you could lust over money, you could lust over power. Right. It's a strong desire to have something. So why would I like that definition better than the first one that pops up on Google? Because we got to study to show ourselves approved, right? If somebody could read this real quick, and then we're gonna get in the blue letter, right? 1 John 2:16, right? This is where we're gonna get our actual definition of lust, not from Google, but actually from the actual text itself.
Con, this is 1 John 2:16. It says, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world.
Right? So just going into the word lust real quick. If we go to 1 John 2:16 in the blue letter, and we scroll down here to the Hebrew word of lust, we're going to get the definition. Oh, Salakia,
Greek
the Greek
word.
Greek word for lust. We're in the New Testament, so the Greek word for lust here in this context, right? That's warning us about lust, right? We got to see the actual word that it was warning us about. What's going on? Wi-Fi tripping. Bear with me. All right. So, if we could read the definition of the word that was used, and you'll see why I like that second definition that we read from Wikipedia better, right?
Con. You can scroll back up so I can read the Greek. So the word for lust in the Greek in this chapter is it says Strong's G 1939, which is epithmia or epithemia, right? And when you go down and read it, it says desire, craving, longing, desire for what is forbidden, lust.
All right. So desire, craving, longing, right? Desire, craving, longing for, right? So we got to keep these in mind when we think about certain lusts. So it also adds desire for what is forbidden, right? This is the lust that is talking about in context of 1 John 2:16. There are some healthy lusts, like you can lust after the word of God. You could desire the word of God. You could crave the word of God, right? You can lust after your wife. That's a healthy lust, right? Desiring your wife, right? You could lust after your husband, right? It actually commands us in Genesis. Well, it commands the women in Genesis to desire their husband. So, there's healthy lust, but in context, this lust that is talking about um, epi, ep, 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 epithomia, right, is the desire for what is forbidden. So that's what we're going to talk about today: the desire for what's forbidden, right? Because we don't have a problem with healthy lusts, right? Nobody has a desire with healthy lusts. Um, Nobody has a problem with it. It may be difficult for you to gain, but nobody has a problem with healthy lust. We have a problem with the things that we're forbidden from, which is why we see Adam and Eve eat the forbidden fruit. They had a longing, a craving, a desire for that fruit, right? And they gave into it. Be going back and forth um, from my phone just because I got some notes here, right, for today. But yeah, man, let's move on. So let's go back to the scripture, 1 John 2:16. If we could read that one more time.
1 John 2:16, it says, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world.
Right? It's of the world. So check this out, right? Um, I speak as a man, but I say the one lust that centers them all is the lust that's in the middle, right? The lust of the eyes, right? Um, with the lust of the eyes comes the lust of the flesh. A lot of times before we see um, some good food, I mean, a lot of times before we see some good food, right? Or before we eat some good food, we look at it first, right? This is why there's power in commercials and there's power in different little cooking channels we may see on social media and things of that nature. There's power in watching these little mukbangs where you watch people eat the food. It all starts with the eyes, right? And then the lust of the flesh kind of comes after that. And then also, then comes the pride of life. right? When you get to live inside of that lust. So I say as a man that it kind of starts with the eyes, right? What do I mean by that? When you think about a blind man, a lot of times those blind men in the New Testament, they were beggars, man. They had nothing, X, Y, and Z, but all they wanted was to be able to see. A lot of times we take for granted being able to see. But if you are blind, you're not gonna lust after a Gucci belt. You've never seen it. You know, people talk about it, but whether you have it or not, it's not gonna give you the same feeling because you don't even know if you have one on. Somebody could give you a Gucci belt and say, "Hey, this is a Gucci belt," but you don't know, right? You a blind man, you're not really giving into women like that. As far as looking upon a beautiful woman and desiring her or craving her, right? So we know it's twofold. You got the lust of the flesh. Yeah, the lust of the flesh is there where you can touch and feel things and get a craving for that feeling, right? But for example, a blind man, um, he doesn't look on a woman and crave to touch her and then touches her, right? Now he might touch a woman, you know what I'm saying, and then remember that feeling, right? But it wasn't from the eyes first. A lot of us we get caught up because we are using our eyes first, right? And then our eyes are leading to our imagination, and our imagination is really deep. Our imagination can go into our dreams, right? In our dreams, we dream about stuff that is not taking place, right? But it feels like it's taking place. We can feel it in our dreams. We can smell it in our dreams. We could touch it in our dreams, all based off what we've downloaded with our eyes, right? So eyes um have a big part to play in locating lust, right? Because as we talking about locating lust. When you're blind, you don't care about women per se. You don't care about nice jewelry. You don't care about nice clothes. We don't care about those things when you're blind. You just want to be able to see. So some things, man, we gotta, pretend as if we were blind. Furthering that point, I'm gonna get some scriptures on that, right? Let's go to the Apocrypha. Let's go to, matter of fact, before we go there, let's go to Esther, right? The book of Esther. And what do I want? Two. Let's go to 15. We're going to get some examples of kind of like the power in the eyes, right?
Con, this is Esther 2 and 15, and it says, "Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Haggai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that looked upon her."
Right. So she obtained favor in the sight of all of them that looked upon her. So just by people looking at her, she obtained favor. Right. That's deep. Not by nothing she said, not by nothing she did, but because they looked at her, she obtained favor in the sight of them. Letting you know, man, that the eyes are a powerful thing when it comes to lust, right? They say something in the world, they call people eye candy, right? We know the dopamine that's released when we eat candy, that's something sweet that makes our mouth water and hits our taste buds, right? The same thing happens with the eyes, man. Before we can even taste that candy, a lot of times those dopamines are released in our brain, which is why you'll see our mouth start watering before we even taste it, right? You can see that in dogs. A lot of times their mouth will start slobbering when they're super hungry, right? And they see some food, right? And then they get pissed off when you don't give it to them and they get a little aggressive. All because of the eyes, right? All
Yeah.
because of the eyes. You, go
The
ahead.
lust of the, no, I was just gonna say the lust of the eyes. It also deals with leading into perspectives of persons, right? Because a lot of times people um will lust over somebody if they look very beautiful or handsome, right? And give them more respect than somebody that doesn't. Or if somebody comes and they look put together versus somebody that looks homeless, right? And it's just going back to, the blind men or blind women, right? They typically are better persons because, they don't get to make that first impression off of the lust of the eyes, right? They kind of treat everybody the same. You know what I'm saying? They don't see color, they don't see riches, they don't see jewelry and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So, because
Man. And so, uh the Most High God, man, he's an observer, right? He's all knowing, but he's an observer as well. The Most High God saw how the people treated Absalom because he was fair to look upon, right? They saw how the people flocked to Absalom. They saw how people flocked to all these good looking men, right? So fast forwarding, when it's time for the test, when he puts Christ on the scene, right? He says that Christ was nothing. It was described as Christ was nothing pretty much beautiful to look upon. He was a regular man. You couldn't even spot him out or spot the difference between him and the rest of the disciples, right? Because now he's testing the hearts of men, right? Because he knows that men crave and lust after the eyes. It's almost right like men know when another man is handsome, right? And they know when they can for example, I'll give an example, right? Men on a on a on a on a on a carnal level will look at another man and decide if they want that man to be a leader or not, whether it's on a basketball team, whether it's in the army, right? You got to fit the bill. If you in the army, they're 9 times out of 10 gonna respond to somebody that's in shape, they got a chiseled face, right? Has a deep voice, right? If you on a basketball team, they're gonna they're gonna fall behind the person that looks swaggy, that knows how to make his shoes look right, tie them up the right way, that has some height to him, right? So, like the brother said, right, even men to men, right, you're going to judge the way you follow another man by the looks. And that's why Romans 1 goes into saying what? Men uh burned in their own lust, right? Turning to each other, doing what's not seemly. Paraphrasing, right? But go ahead.
no, I was going to piggyback on earlier. That's why it tells us in the word, if your eye offends, to pluck it out, right?
We're gonna get
Yeah.
there. But go
Okay.
ahead.
Huh?
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, just meaning that you should be as one that is blind. You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
Become.
Come on, man. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there in a second through the spirit, right? If we could read verse 16.
Verse 16, it says, "So Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus into his house royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign."
Right. So a lot of times, man, just off of looks, right? Just off of looks, we will bring people and things into our life just off of looks. Now, sometimes, you may get the looks with the spirit. Sometimes you may get caught off guard and you just got the looks in the flesh and you don't have the spiritual things, right? Um, so you got to be careful with that, man. But a lot of times, man, if you pass the eye test, you can get that job. If you pass the eye test, you can get that girl, you can get that boy. You pass the eye test, you can get that loan from the bank. If you pass the eye test a lot of times, right, you can get the pride of life. Let's get verse 17.
Verse 17, "And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins,
Right,
so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti."
right. So it says she obtained grace and favor in his sight, right? Keep in mind, she ain't did nothing yet. She ain't. It doesn't talk about she won a talent show. It don't talk about that she won a speaking point. Nah, she won favor in his sight, and just from her looking the part, she became a queen, right? She got a crown, right? And a lot of us, a lot of us men, we quick to crown women off of sight, right? Sometimes women look so good, we make all the excuses in the world. Yeah, she got a little work to do in this aspect, but I could work with her, all because you fell in love with how she looked. You ready to crown that girl, all because you fell in love with the idea of you having a fine thing on the side of you. Because if I got something fine on the side of me, it's gonna make my status look better, right? We fall in love with the looks of things, right? That's why I say, man, a lot of this stuff, when it comes to locating lust, starts with the eyes, right? I want to go to the Apocrypha now, right? To the book of Susanna, to the book of Susanna, right? And we know that in the book of Susanna, it was nothing but lust, right? It was nothing but lust. But let's go to verse 32.
Con. In the book of Susanna, you said verse 22?
Now I'm about to click on it. 32.
Con. Susanna, verse 32, and it said, and these wicked men commanded to uncover her face, for she was covered, that they might be filled with her beauty.
Right? So these wicked men, why were they wicked? Because they wanted to be filled with her beauty, right? They didn't want to look at the respectable woman that she was, right? They didn't want to look at Susanna, the law keeper. They wanted to just look at how beautiful she was as a human. You know, a lot of times men get caught up in the beauty of women, right? And we'll have conversations, man. God knew what he was doing when he made women. Man, the silhouette of a woman is so beautiful, man. I just love looking at women. God did his thing when he made women. I don't see how no ninja, I don't see how no ninja could be gay when God made women. A lot of times, man, we get caught up in the beauty of women, right? Yeah, a lot of us, you know what I'm saying, we want to see our women covered up. We want to see our women modest. But then the true us, right? Carnal us, we still like seeing the women half naked, right? So we'll tell our wives, right, to be covered up, and the women that's in our congregation to be covered up. But then the lust in us, like these wicked men, we want to uncover the face of all these other women. And so that's when you see us following these women on social media. You see us gazing at these women at the mall. You see us looking at women down the street, right? And then we become like these wicked men, all because of the eyes. We got to remember, locating sin starts with the eyes, right? It says before they could do their wicked act, they asked her to cut. If you read the book of Susanna, right, you know what these wicked men did. But before they could do their wicked act, they asked her to uncover her face. When you think about David, what did David do? David saw her nakedness when she was taking a bath, right? Now, we can still be attracted to women when they're covered up, but it's something about seeing the beauty of women nakedly, right? It does something to us, man. That eye starts the craving in our flesh. We end up like those dogs that we talked about that want that food, right? Before we can even touch, taste, or feel it, our eyesight is giving us the imagination to touch, taste, and feel before we can even do it, right? It says, for she was covered that they might be filled with her beauty, right? What does it mean, be filled with her beauty? It means to fill your imagination, right? They fill in their imaginations with what they're looking at. Oh, look at her lips. Oh my God. Oh, look at her neck, her collarbone. I can't wait to kiss on her neck. Oh, look at her. You know what I'm saying? So they're being filled with her beauty, all because of the lust of the eyes. And as men, we get caught up in that, right? As men, we get caught up in the beauty of women, right? And it can lead you down a road that you don't want to be. It can lead you down a road of regret, right? When we think about the lust of Abnon, I believe, right? That slept with his sister, David's son that slept with David's daughter, right? He looking at his sister, right? All it takes is a look for you to make a mistake. And then when you finally touch and feel, you might end up hating what you did and hating the person that you lusted after. All because it started with the eyes, man. You was lusting, right? Over something that's forbidden. Remember that, over something that was forbidden. Let's get Josh chapter 7 and verse 21. Josh chapter 7 and verse 21. So the whole point of locating lust, right, is so that you can control it. If you don't know that it's there, right, or if you don't know where to find it, by the time it surfaces, you'll have a hard time stopping it, right? So that's why we're going into this, right? If we could read this, Josh, chapter 7 and 21.
Con, it's the book of Joshua, chapter 7 and verse 21. When I saw among the spoils a goodly Babylonish garment, and 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold of 50 shekels weight, then I coveted them and took them. And behold, they are hid in the earth in the midst of my tent, and the silver under it.
Right. So we kind of went over this lesson a few lessons ago in Joshua, where we see Achan, right? He caused the people to start losing the war, right? And they fled away from their enemy. And Joshua prayed and said, God, why did we flee away when you promised that we would take this land? And God said, hey, go amongst the people and sanctify the people, for there's an idol within the people. And so Achan is saying that this is what he did, and this is the reason why they was losing the battle. Now, when we're breaking this down from lust, remember what we said in the definition. Let's go back to the definition, right? Desire, craving, longing, desire for what is forbidden. It don't say anything about sexual in there, right? Don't say anything about sexual in there. We know that sexual things can apply to lust, but also, right? Silver, garments, gold, right? All that stuff you can lust for as well. A lot of us today, we lust for money, right? We lust for power. We lust for influence. We lust for fame, right? But we gotta be able to locate these things. That it all starts with the eyes. When we go to the beginning of this scripture, it says, "When I saw among the spoils," he didn't have the clothes on to see if it looked good on him or not, if it was gonna fit, but he just saw the clothes, right? He didn't use this money, but he saw the money and he imagined what he could do with the money, right? And then it said it led to him coveting them, right? And so that's why David could covet another man's wife off of what he saw. He wasn't supposed to see Bathsheba naked, right? That's why we can find ourselves in situations that we regret, because we covet after something that we saw. Oh, I know this brother got this wife, his wife looked like this, so I'm gonna find another girl that looks like his wife, and then you know, at that point, you're gonna do what you're gonna do, because now you just been coveting another brother's wife, and you wanted the same thing, right? You may not have acted on that brother's wife, but you still coveted what that brother had. So you went out and found it, and you went out and attacked it. And now you find yourself in a situation where you're in a baby mama situation, or you in a situation to where you regret what you did, right? You got to be able to locate lust, right? And not act on it, right? What was you about to say, Janal?
No, I was just about to say, man, it's one of the chief ways Satan gets to all of us, right? Think about it. When he tried to tempt Christ, what did he do? He took him up on that mountain and showed him all that stuff, right? All the kingdoms of the world. Look out there, it can be yours, right? Look how high we are. Just cast yourself down, right? And that's why it's so important to live life as if you had no eyes, right? Because when you live life as if you had no eyes, none of that stuff would affect you, right? Spirit of heights, of the fear of heights, probably wouldn't even be a thing. You wouldn't know how high or low you were anyway, right? When you're looking out to the kingdom and the fame and all of that stuff, you don't even know what the kingdoms look like. You don't even know what the people in them kingdoms look like, right? You don't know what a Babylonian garment looks like. So when you're going through there, that's the last thing on your mind, right? To you, it's just a regular shirt if you touch it. You know what I'm saying? But man, that's one of the chief ways that Satan gets to us is the lust of the eyes.
Man, that leads me to my next talking point through the spirit. My next talking point was locating lust starts with becoming blind, right? Locating lust starts with becoming blind. Like the brother Janal said, we have to act as if we can't see. When you watch the Book of Eli, right, that movie, right, before you get to the end of the movie, you thinking, man, this is a bad man. He not tempted or swayed by anything. Then you find out he blind. And then you start to think about the movie like, that's why he wasn't giving in to some of these things that would have scared me on the walk. I would have been scared if I saw that. I would have been scared if I saw my surroundings, if I knew that. But because he was blind, he was able to stay focused. So we got to be able to stay focused in this thing. And the only way we can stay focused is not giving to lust. And a big part of not giving into lust is becoming blind, right? So let's get some scriptures on becoming blind. Let's pull up, is it 2 Corinthians? What I have, 4:18. Let's go here first.
It's kind of like what Paul said, but in a different fashion. Those that have eyes, be as if you had none.
Con, it's the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 4 and verse 18. It says, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal.
Right? That's big, because the things that are seen are temporal. So you got to look at the spiritual things. That's what it's saying here, right? Yeah, that girl make you feel good. Yeah, she say all the right things. Yeah, she looked the part. But if you were blind and you met that girl, would it be the same? Would it be the same? Would you still have that same feelings toward a girl? Guess what? If a lot of us men were blind and we were in this truth, right? We would move a lot differently. We would talk to a girl over the phone or court a girl over phone, whether it's long distance or whatever, and we would be getting to it, asking her these spiritual questions, right? We wouldn't be trying to be caked up and trying to make her laugh and make her smile and try to play it cool. And I'm gonna hold this conversation to later because it might run her off. We wouldn't be talking about all that. If we was blind, we would get straight to it, because we know that, hey, your looks ain't gonna do nothing for me because I can't see them anyway. But because we have eyes, these two big deceptors in our face, right? We can be deceived by the things that we see. And then we take on a woman and we say, yeah, I know she's not in the truth, but she brings me peace, right? Or I know she's not in the truth. She looked good to me though. I know she's not in the truth, but she makes me feel good, right? All those things go out the window when you blind, because all those things don't matter. Because if you blind, the first thing you're gonna say is, yeah, she in the truth. Yeah, I brought the truth to her. She was totally accepting and she changed right away. That's what you want to look for. But a lot of times, like I said, because they look good, right? We do like the king did to Esther, and we put a crown on their head, right? And we start going out of our wits for them, to where it's like, yeah, I can work with you. Yeah, it may take a few years, but you look the part and you feel good. You make me feel good. So guess what? I'm gonna be long suffering with you. And then we want to claim that we got the fruits of the spirit to be able to deal with her, when we know for a fact that she probably was only fulfilling our lust, right? So we got to become blind. Let's go to Matthew 5:29, right?
Con, also with blindness, a lot of brothers need to become deaf too. I don't know if all these are talking points, but you got to become kind of like senseless, no sight, no feeling, no hearing, no taste, no touch. Because a lot of times when, especially men, speaking of men, because I'm a man and I can speak for myself, when you dealing with lust issues, a lot of times, man, before a lot of in certain cases, not every case, because in a lot of cases is what you see first. But certain cases, like the brother said, a woman can talk a good game, and next thing you know what I'm saying, you got your drawers down in her bedroom, but you got to come deaf to some of the things that they say too, and you got to prove these spirits as if you were blind or senseless, because all these things are just tools to get you, you know what I'm saying, the fall subject, right? To get what they want. Like we talked about this past week, I think Wednesday, when we was talking about how the deceiver, what they'll do is they'll come to you like in a humble spirit, kind of sort of. You know what I'm saying? Sisters will come to you in a comely spirit, in a comely matter. Then they get what they want from you. You get what you want. Now you finna sit up here and try to justify your foolishness, and then she making your life a living hell, or vice versa. Women, you done got, you know what I'm saying, subjugated because You didn't prove the spirit because all you had to do was look at the man. You know what I'm saying? You looked at him, he looked handsome. And then outside of just seeing his physical appearance with clothes on, then you seen what he was working with down below. Now all of a sudden you fall double victim. You like, oh, it's over with. You know what I'm saying? So you got to become senseless in this thing. But
Con,
this is Job
the
31 and 1.
look, Salakis. The Prince Obadiah said Job 31 and 1. So of course we got to pull it up through the spirit. Looking at this, man, it's so many ways you can go into this particular precept, right? But we're gonna cover it real quick, right? Go ahead and read.
Job 31 and 1, it says, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid?
Right. So it's so many different ways you can attack this precept, right? A lot of us, we've made a covenant with our eyes to the covenant could be whatever we see, we believe, right? Now that's a lot of what like the brother Yeshaya said, it also comes with hearing as well. But do you notice that even when it comes to hearing, people still say that they saw it, right? For example, with the election and everything going on right now, it could broadcast on TV. And even though we're hearing the words that they're saying, people say, did you see what Trump said? Did you see what was on CNN? Even though we're hearing it, but we still say we saw it, right? Meaning we make a covenant with our eyes. Our eyes lead to everything else. It leads to every other sense, every other emotion, right? Our eyes do. And so when we make a covenant with our eyes to believe everything that our eyes see, why should you think upon a maid, right? Why should you think upon anything? Right? You're not going to think upon nothing when you make a covenant with your eyes. You know why? Because you believe your eyes. I don't need to go in depth with thinking about if this girl is good for me or not. She looked good for me, so I believe that she is good for me. I don't need to go into thinking if I should like in Joshua, him stealing the Babylonian garment. I don't need to think about if I should wear this garment or not. It looks good to me, so I'm gonna put it on, right? And that has to do a lot with lust. Is we make covenants with our eyes to believe whatever our eyes are looking at, and this is why a lot of people in the New Testament had strong delusion with and strong problems with faith, because faith is one of the things in this text that has nothing to do with sight. Right? It has nothing to do with sight. Faith has nothing to do with sight. Spiritual things have nothing to do with sight. So if you make a covenant with your eyes, it's going to be hard for you to keep the faith. It's going to be hard for you to be spiritual. When Job lost everything, right? He's looking at his situation, right? Keyword, looking at his situation, right? And it's causing his faith to almost waver. Now we know he got close, but and he never did, right? The Most High knows, how much you can bear, but he started almost wavering because of what he was seeing, right? He saw the boils on his skin. He saw his kids die. He saw these things, and it changed his perspective on life, right? But truth be told, right? If we lose the ability to see, right? If we lose the ability to see, a lot of our connections to physical things will not be as strong as they are, right? And that's something deep to understand, because I'll give an example for myself, right? I was talking to my grandmother the other day, and I said, yeah, these terrible twos, my son just turned 2, right? I said, these terrible twos ain't nothing to play with. I told my grandmother, I said, if my son was ugly, I don't know how I could take it. You know what I'm saying? Because I get mad at my son, but I look at how cute, or, how, in my opinion, how handsome he is. And, I'm not mad no more. So the relationship I have with my son, a big part of it is based off of what I see. And this is why you see some people get mad at their kids. Oh, you look just like your daddy, right? Yeah, you look just like your mom, you act just like your mom, or when they think that their child is ugly, they treat them a different way, right? This is like well, it's not the story of Cinderella, but they still treated Cinderella a certain way, right? But at the same time, we see it happen all the time when we look at what's that movie with Precious, right? Her mom hated her, right? Her mom probably used to call her ugly and everything, because a lot of times, man, our relationships that we make here in the physical, the bonds and the connections that we make have a lot to do with the eyes, which is why a lot of camps, right? A lot of us camps, a lot of churches, a lot of congregations judge people based off of what they see. Now we claim that we don't, but we have more respect unto some people if we see something that's more aligned with how we think and how we believe, right? Um, if you look at each organization, they have their own vibes, right? And if you not in that organization, but you have their same vibe, you dress the same, you wear the same stuff that they do, they're going to vibe with you better, and they're going to build that relationship a little stronger than with the next person that is wearing something that they disagree with. For example, I'll give an example. The pomegranate, or some say the Star of David, or some say the Star of Molech. Um, there's so many different thoughts on that object. Imagine if we were blind, though. If we were blind, that object wouldn't have no power. So the thing about it is, there's brothers and sisters that's forming stronger relationships with others because of that symbol, or because they agree about the interpretation of that symbol, right? All because of the eyes, right? But man, that was a mighty precept. The water for that, Prince Obadiah, right? Let's get this. Matthew 5:29. You had something to know?
Uh,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to bring out something, man, and it could be a stretch, but as I'm thinking on the scriptures, man, it just makes sense, right? So we know with the brother Samson, right? He had a lot of lust of the eyes for women, you know what I'm saying, and that was kind of his downfall. It wasn't, and so if after his during the climax of his destruction, what they did was they plucked his eyes out, right? They plucked his eyes out, and I'm led to believe that after they plucked his eyes out and he was, strung up and stuff like that, it helped him see things a lot clearly, right? And it kind of, uh, I don't want to say force, but it kind of gave him the idea to destroy their temple or whatever he was in, right, where he pulled the building down, right? Because I feel like, you know, if he were to see one of those, if he were to see Delilah, or if he were to see one of them women that that caught his eye in the building, right, or just at all, he might have been distracted to the point where he would still be thinking about himself, right, and not his nation. You know what I'm saying? And so, but anyways, just like if he were to see Delilah in the building, he might have second thoughts about pulling the building down, right? But nonetheless, man, and like I said, it could be a stretch, but I think it did bring some clarity to him when he wasn't able to see anymore. But
Con, man, before we read Matthew, man, I also wanted to read this because you bring up Samson. There's so many men that were influenced by the sight of women, right? One of them being King Ahab, right? If you don't know who King Ahab is, he's married to the famous Jezebel, right? Her name has probably been more famous than his name, right? The name Ahab means love in Hebrew, right? Ahab, right? Means love, right? And some of us men, we could fall in love with what we see, right? And a lot of times that being women. But I wanted to make a point. So it was prophesied that Jezebel was going to be killed, right? But in the act of her being killed, right? Look what she did to try to protect herself, right? When she was being pursued or sought after for her death, right? Let's read this, 2 Kings 9:33.
Khan, it's the book of 2 Kings, chapter 9, and verse 33. And it reads, and he said, throw her down. So they threw her down, and some of her blood was sprinkled on the wall and on the horses, and he trode under her foot. And he trode her underfoot. Salakia.
Con. Salaki, I'll be right back. Bear with me real quick.
Con. But I can't share my screen, but I want to read this. Well, I'll probably wait till the Ock come back to bring any precepts out, because um there was a precept that the brother Obadiah brought out that went right along with, making a covenant with your eyes. Why should I then gaze or look upon a maid, right? Something in Sirach. But I don't know if the brother Azrael has any precepts to be brought out regarding this matter. But to those who are tuning in, hey, most high willing, like we say every lesson, that you're edified and understanding, you know what I'm saying, the importance of becoming blind or becoming senseless when it comes to dealing with lust. Because a lot of people who struggle with lust, a lot of brothers and sisters who struggle with lust, it all begins with the eyes. And if it's not at the eyes, if it's like it's the lust of the flesh, when you're feeling hungry and stuff like that, then you got to become senseless, because sometimes the lust of your flesh can cause you to go off too. People think hungry is an innocent feeling, but you got to remember how we were in the wilderness. And like I said, I don't know if Brother Azrael is going into any of this, so I'll be light with it. But you got to remember how sometimes when you're hunger can cause you to say things that you truly shouldn't be saying. We were in the wilderness and we was like, what to God? Did he bring us out of Egypt just for us to die of hunger? How dare us? We just had a man deliver us from hard bondage, and we're complaining to that. Oh, we should have just stayed there and been servants. But we have an inheritance waiting for us. How dare us speak that? I guess you could say that wickedly against our Father. You know what I'm saying? To bring us out of the land that we were held captive just because we were hungry. And people do that in today's time. Like when you're on a fast and you're fasting, and then all of a sudden, man, you just get that feeling of hunger. For some reason, on days you fast, the hungry feeling is a lot more intense than on days you don't fast. Now, it could be because you didn't intake any food, but at the same time, I also think it's spiritual, because you know that you're withstanding from food and water, and now all of a sudden, it's just like the intensity of your hunger and thirst is just heightens, because the spirit wants you to fold into your physical desires, right? And you just got to be strong to control it. That's why not only blind, but also senseless. You know what I'm saying? Pecan.
Man, all goes into locating lust, man. All goes into locating lust. Uh, and furthermore, if you brothers got other aspects, I'm really just gonna be hitting on the eyes and vision and looking today. So if you guys got other aspects of locating lust, feel free to keep adding to it, man. It all goes into locating lust. At the end of the day,
God.
that's what the topic and the title is locating lust, right? We got to be able to pinpoint it, man, and find it at its origin, right? Salakia, I was a little ahead, but let's go back a few verses, about 4 verses back. Let's start here and to get the point, right? 2 Kings 9:29.
Khan, this is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 9 and verse 29. And in the 11th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, began Ahaziah to reign over Judah.
Right?
Verse 30.
Verse 30.
And when Jehu was come to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it, and she painted her face and tied her head and looked out at a window.
Right? So she knew that the son of Ahab, the son of her son, was coming, right? Because it was prophesied. She knew he was coming to kill her. And the first thing she did was what? She painted her face, tied her head, right? And looked out at a window, right? Now, why is this important to know? It's because she's probably falling back. Now we don't know, but if I was to guess, she's probably going back to how she was able to deceive her husband Ahab and thinking that his son would fall for the same thing, right? Because the whole idea, right, and the women, right? I know I said this was a lesson for the men per se, but women, we have to understand the whole reason for makeup was for deception, right? She defaulted to painting her face, whether it was for beauty or whatever, right? Or to disguise herself, but it was for deception, right? And a lot of women know that they've gotten what they wanted because of the deception of makeup. And because of that, a lot of women get caught in the cycle of what? Putting makeup on, to where it's to the point that a lot of our women put it on every day, and it gets more and more. It starts out something subtle, then they see the benefits of it. Then they add a little bit more, they see some benefits of it. And now it gets to the point to where they have a whole face on that's not their face, right? And it becomes something that they do every day because they've seen the benefits of deception, right? Which is why a lot of men are looking for the clean face women, because a lot of men don't want to wake up in the morning and feel like they've been deceived, right? But I pull that out just to let you know that even Jezebel knows that deception starts with the eyes, right? So when you see that Jezebel spirit out, fellas, right, know that that Jezebel spirit knows to deceive you starting with the eyes as well, right? That Jezebel spirit knows that, guess what? I can get this man to accept me and take me into his house and get me pregnant and give me money. I can expect this man to do all of that, all based off of what he see. That spirit's in them, right? From Jezebel. Let's go back to Matthew 5 and 29 now.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 29. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell.
Right? Because your starting from your eye can cast your whole body into hell. Not only your eye, but like the brother Yeshai said, to your ear. If your ear offends you, cut it off, right? So all of this, right? You got to be able to do. And you know, spiritually, it's kind of spiritual that Peter cut off the ear of that one soldier, right? That was coming to get Christ, because they were coming to get Christ off of rumors, off of what they heard, and he cut that ear off, right? Off of what they heard, they were coming to get Christ, not off of what he actually did, right? So I say this to say this, amen. We got to be able to live as if we were blind if we're going to locate lust, right? Whenever you're in a situation, ask yourself, if I was physically blind, would I be assessing this situation differently, right? All your desires, all your wants should be filtered through the spirit and not through the eyes, right? Would I be talking to this girl? Would I be talking to this man if it wasn't for my eyes, right? Would I be dealing with this BS if it wasn't for my eye? If I didn't have my eyes, right? Con, let me see where I got next, man.
Hey, Khan, too. This is why I say you should, like, if you're looking for love and you're an Israelite, man, Love is Blind would be the perfect, I guess you could say, way to find love. You know what I'm saying? Learning about people, talking to people, conversing with people before you ever see them. Because a lot of people, their feelings and emotions begin and end at the very thing that you see from the very first time you meet somebody. What is it called? A first impression. It doesn't have to be the way they act, right? You can meet someone, a woman may meet a man who doesn't look to their liking, so they may do away with him, but he may be everything that they need. Vice versa. A man may see a woman and she may not look as appealing to him, but she might be everything he needs. But the problem is, a lot of people, they want to have their cake and eat it too. You know what I'm saying? You want somebody that you need, but they got to look the way you want them to look, right? They got to make you feel the way you want them to make you feel before. And that, what I'm saying in that is, a lot of people on social media nowadays, they're talking about we got to have sex tryouts and stuff like that. Salakia for the I guess you could say the vulgarity of the conversation, but that's off. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times people really are limiting their love to what they see and feel, and that's not true love, right?
Oh man, we know that the look will give you a feeling on the inside, right? I'm painting my house this color because it gives me a warm feeling. Oh, I'm adding this carpet because it gives a cozy feeling, right? Or I'm adding this color because it gives a vibrant, energetic feeling, all off of looks, right? When you go to an interview, right, the best candidate may not look the part, but the best candidate also may not get the job, all because of looks, right? Because, you know, the employer It's not looking at the hidden aspects of a person, meaning, oh, this person probably really needs this job and they probably weren't able to get a haircut and the best shirt and tie because they actually need this job. But let me not look at how he looks or she looks, and let me look into their character and what they know. They don't do that, right? They're gonna look at the person that come in with the nice shoes, the nice shirt, the nice collared shirt, the nice tie, or the nice pencil skirt. They're gonna look at those people and try to hire them off of looks because they look the part. And then a lot of companies get burned because that person that looked the part, they didn't really need that job, right? They already had everything they really need. They might have just need that job for a side gig or something, and then they there for 2 months and then gone. But the person you looked up or looked over that needed that job, he or she probably would have stayed for 7 years. But you looked over them all because of your eyes, right? And what your eyes made you feel, right? So the next portion we're going to go into is making choices, right? Everybody got a choice. You got a choice, right? I was talking with the brother Yeshaya. We had a men's night, and he said something that it boils down to is choices. We got to stop blaming the lust. We know that lust is there. So you can't blame lust if you already know that lust is there, because you have the option to choose not to lust. The first thing that happens when brothers fall short is, yeah, man, that lust demon got to me. Yeah, that spirit of lust hit me, man. I'm battling lust. How long you gonna battle lust, brother? Right? You've been in the truth for a long time now, and we still battling lust. You got to be able to slay demons. I can do all things through Christ. You got to put on the armor of God, right? We shouldn't be falling to the same things over and over and over again. It says that a just man falls 7 times, yes, but I'm led to believe that just man wasn't falling to the same thing 7 times. Once you fall to one thing, you got to learn from it and not fall from that one thing again. That's called repentance. Yeah, it may be a lot of things you can fall from, but I got to make up in my mind, I'm not going to fall to the same thing every time, right? So going into choices, man, the Most High God knows everything, right? He ordains everything. We know there's no such thing as free will, right? But he does give us choices, right? He does give us choices. Deuteronomy tells us that choose us this day. Salakia, I don't think that's Deuteronomy.
That is Deuteronomy.
Yeah.
30 and 19.
Right. Choose you this day, right? Life or death. We got to be able to choose. He gives us the option to choose. The difference between being able to choose and having free will is free will has no consequences. When you choose, when you make a choice, it comes with a consequence, right? So even though he's omniscient, he's all powerful, he's all knowing, he ordains everything from the beginning. He also knows that he gave you the choice and you made that decision. It's kind of complicated. I understand, because you like, well, if he know I'm gonna do it anyway, why would he be mad? But at the end of the day, we have to learn our how to control our carnal selves by making the right choices. We don't make the right choices, right? So let's get Proverbs 4 and 23, right? We're gonna go to Proverbs chapter 4 and 23, going into making the right choices, right? Because a lot of us, man, we see the right choice right in front of us, but we don't make the right choice, right? Once again, we had a little men's night, and one of the brothers that was there, he made the right choice. He was able to weigh the options out right before he started courting somebody, right? The brother, he let us know he prayed and fasted. He made it spiritual. Some things were revealed to him, and he was able to make the right choice, right? Proverbs 4 and 23, we can read that.
Khan, this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 4 and verse 23. And it says, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life.
Right? Out of your heart are the issues of life, right? So you got to guard your heart, right? A lot of times we compare your heart to your mind. Today, I'm comparing your heart to your eyes. You got to guard your eyes. Guard your eyes with all diligence, because from your eyes are the issues of life, right? The only reason why you are depressed a lot of times is from what you see. You see in your circumstance. For example, we got an electric bill that comes every month. My wife puts the bill on the refrigerator so we don't forget it. Me seeing that bill every day is not going to make me feel good, right? That's the issue of life, right? If I get in an accident, I get a scar on my face. Me seeing that scar every day, it's going to bring off the issues of life. It's going to lessen my confidence. It's going to, X, Y, and Z. Me looking at the amount of money I have in my bank, it's going. We have to be able to guard our eyes, right? Because also, me looking at something I want could make me covet things and then bring forth issues of life. Now I'm coveting. Now I'm jealous. Now I'm depressed at what I can't have, right? All the way leading into sexual lust as well. If we don't keep our eyes, fellas, we're going to have a lot of issues of life, right? The eyes is what's going to cause us to fall in our marriages, or cause us to not even get married, or cause us to marry the wrong person, or cause us to mess up the right situation or relationship, all because of the eyes. And we didn't guard our eyes. What do I mean by guarding our eyes? Man, we have to be honest with ourselves. A lot of times men are not honest with themselves. We think that our limit is higher than what it is. I think if you think your limit is right here, your limit is really right here, right? You think, I don't need to unfollow this girl. Man, I grew up with her, and we cool. I still want to check in. But brother, you know you shouldn't be following that girl, right? I've been watching this new show on Netflix, and it can get a little raunchy, man. And yeah, I do be a little locked into some of the scenes that I shouldn't be locked in, where I should be fast forwarding. But it's just a show, you know what I'm saying? We gotta be able to know our limits and make a choice. I know I shouldn't be watching this music video, but it's a spiritual meaning in this music video, bro. You got to look at the spiritual aspect of it. I know it's secular. Come on, brother. You got to know your limits, right? You looking at a sister that you want to court, and you trying to check off the boxes, but you're not checking off any of the boxes that matter. Is she in the truth? No. Is she willing to accept the truth? I don't know. Nah, really. Does she dress modest? No. She's not checking off all the boxes that you need to be checking off, but she do check the box of the eyes, right? So you think that you can handle it, but it's because you're not giving yourself the correct limit. We got to be able to make choices, and the choices are going to help us guard or keep our heart or keep our eyes. And from that point on, we can control the issues of life that come after it, right? Let's go to Galatians 5 and 16. Right, Galatians 5 and 16. Right, Galatians 5 and 16. Let's read it.
Con, it's the book of Galatians, chapter 5 and verse 16. This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh.
Right? Walk in the spirit. We all know the saying, walk by faith, not by sight. Right? That's what it means to walk in the spirit. You got to walk in the spirit. And when you walk in the spirit, you're not going to fulfill the lust of your flesh. Right? I'll give a brief example, right? Kind of loosely tied to this. You may have a problem eating junk food, eating trash food, eating sweets. Let you go on a fast. If you go on a fast for like, I don't know, 3 days, 4 days, 2 days, even a day, you're not thinking about that junk food no more. You're not thinking about that trash food. You just want food, right? So what I'm saying is, if you walk in the spirit, if you take out the nonsense, right? You do away with the nonsense for a period of time, you won't crave the nonsense. But like I said, a lot of us, we don't control the limits, right? In our own personal lives. And so if we don't limit ourselves on what we take in, right? We're never able to stop having the craving for nonsense. right? You and you got to think, right? I watched a video not too long ago that's saying who we are, right? It's just a reflection of a system, right? The system of how you grew up with, whether you had parents or no parents or two parents or adopted or whatever, the system of grade school, whether it was private school, public school, whether it was homeschool, right? The system of where you went after you finished school, right? Whether you played on sports teams or not, whether you was in a band or not, right? The system of relationships that you went through, whether it was heartbreaks or whatever, all these things serves as a filter for who you are today, right? And so who you are today is a reflection of you. It's a reflection of your limits. It's a reflection of what you can handle. It's a reflection of the choices that you make, right? And so with that being said, you have to be able to know yourself and know what you can handle. Brother, you might not be able to listen to secular music because secular music has got you to this point thus far, right? You may not be able to watch certain shows because watching certain shows have got you where you are so far. You may not be able to hang around certain individuals because hanging around certain individuals has landed you where you are thus far, right? And all that has to do with controlling lust, right? The brother B Moore says the Kobe system. I'm not too familiar with the Kobe system. If you could elaborate more on that, unless one of the brothers on here know a little bit about the Kobe system. But I think what he's saying is, kind of, I think he was saying, the Kobe system is pretty much, you know, being devoted to a certain thing, right? And kicking all the nonsense out. But let me see if Google will let me see what it is. Kobe to be Kobe. The Kobe system. They got some images. Kanye, Kobe system, Nike commercial. I think I remember that. I'm gonna play it real quick.
Is that the system he's pointing to or speaking of?
I think so. Let's see.
Could he be talking about?
You're at the top of your game. You got prestigious awards. You're a Chinese megastar. You own outer space. I do. You got here by accident. So what's next? Where do you go from the top? You go over the top. Popping stuff. The Kobe system is about adaptation, attacking fast and strong. How do you know when you're in the Kobe system? Look at your feet. How do you use the system? Put on shoes. Listen to me. Any questions?
What if you're really successful?
He makes a good point. Adaptation is not about reaction. The dinosaurs reacted. The meteor adapted. The meteor won. Is that clear, Serena?
Not really. What does it have to do with my backhand?
Please watch.
Right. So the brother just texted, man. He said he was really just being facetious. But nonetheless, man, we talking about systems, man, and the way where you are, like Kobe was saying, you're this, you're that, X, Y, and Z. You got here by accident. You did not get where you are by accident, right? You did not fall into temptation by accident. You fall into it by practice, right? You gave into it by practice. You fell into your situation because you didn't learn from your past mistakes, or you didn't learn yourself. You didn't take the time to learn yourself, right? So that's why the book of Corinthians tells us to examine ourselves daily. If you don't examine yourself daily, man, you're going to keep falling from the same thing. Like I said, a just man falls 7 times and gets up. But when he gets up, he's not falling back to that same thing, bro. You would be a fool if you fell to the same thing over and over and over and over again. But people read that scripture and make excuses for themselves, like, I just got a lust problem, bro. I just got a weed problem, bro. A just man falls, though. I just got a spending problem. No, you're supposed to learn. Each time you fall, you're supposed to learn, right? And make the choice to do better. But yeah, man, like I said, man, if we were to fast, right, from bad foods, when it's time to eat, we don't even care about that bad food no more. We just want something to eat. It could be rice, plain rice and chicken that's not seasoned. We just want to eat something, right? I don't care what I drink. I don't have to have soda. Just give me water, right? And so that's how we got to be in the spirit when it comes to a lot of these things we lust after, man. We got to attack it as if we're fasting from it. And when you fast from it long enough, like the brother said earlier, what Paul said, I would rather that you don't get married, right? Or when you get married, act as if you're not married, right? When you act like that, everything else is just, an addition to your life, right? It's an addition and not a necessity, right? And that way you won't be given into deception and into guile and into covetousness and surfeiting and lusting, right? You got to be able to abstain from the thoughts, abstain from the appearance of, abstain from all those things, right? That's why I tell us to abstain from the appearance of evil. Why? Because the appearance of evil can turn you evil, right? Moving on. I have here written, we have to deprive ourselves of beauty sometimes. Go long enough without a woman, you'll be happy with whoever the Most High sends in your life to an extent, right? The deception of emotion, right? So check this out. The next topic we're going into is the deception of emotion. But from what I just read there, right? The Most High God, if you go long enough without craving the beauty of a woman, the touch of a woman, right? The comfort of a woman, and you get comfortable with uncomfortable, right? You get comfortable with being lonely, you'll end up saying, I'm good with if it's just me and God. And then if God gives you a woman, sends a woman your way, and guess what? She may not be as sexy as you wanted back in the world, right? She may not be the exact height that you wanted back in the world, right? She may not be the color that you wanted back in the world. She may not talk like you wanted back in the world, right? He may not fit all those bills, but guess what? You done went so long without a woman, so long without a man, and grew your relationship with God, with the Most High, to where it's just an addition to you now. Because now you're going into the conversation and she's checking all the right boxes. Like she could be a mom. She could be a keeper of the house. She could be a good wife and a helpmeet to me, right? She can, or he can protect me, right? A lot of times, right, that man, and we're gonna get into it, but a lot of times that man, women, right, talking to the women, that you think, my man has to be this tall, he has to be strong. Guess what? Those strong built men, guess what? They can end you up in trouble all the time. Those strong built men, guess what? They die at the hand of bullets all the time as well. You got to have a man, he might not be the tallest, he might be short, right? He may not be the strongest, he might be a little feeble, right? But if he's moving and he's being dealt with the Lord gonna protect him, and he gonna protect you, and he gonna have you in the best situations, right? So a lot of times, man, we got to be able to fast from what we see, if that makes sense, right? Now, going into the deception of emotion, right? The deception of emotion, right? Let's go to Sirach chapter 9 and verse 8.
Gosh darn it.
What's up?
That was literally the chapter that I was talking about earlier that I said, I had a precept on scripture on too.
Oh, what verse you had?
I was going to read to 8 too, but I was going to start at 2.
All right, we can start at 2. You can bring it out, and then when we get to 8, I'll just bring out what I was going to bring out with 8.
Con. So starting at 2, you really could have left it wide, but give not thy soul. Let me read the book chapter. So this is Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, chapter 9 and starting at verse 2. It says, "Give not thy soul unto a woman to set her foot upon thy substance." Right. Let's keep reading. Verse number 3, it says, "Meet not with an harlot, lest thou fall into her snares." You know, because again, we have to remind ourselves that in Proverbs 31, what was the wisdom given unto the king? It was saying, "Get not thy strength unto woman." You know what I'm saying? And we have to remind ourselves that there are women in this lifetime who associate with a particular group of people known as harlots that want nothing to do with you but to obtain what you have, right? That's why it tells us verse 6, it says, "Give not thy soul unto harlots, thou lose not thine inheritance." Because when you go read in First Esdras, it talks about how men will give up anything for women, including their own money, including your finances, right? You'll give up your house, you'll give up an arm, a leg, you'll give up a lot of things just to make a woman happy. And that's one of the things that we have to do as men, is to recognize when you're dealing with the woman, sometimes the best thing that you could do for yourself is close your eyes. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes the best thing that you can do for yourself is close your ears, right? Because at the end of the day, we have to protect ourselves from being able to be swindled by all these particular women, right? Verse
Man,
number 4.
Salakia, brothers will get with a woman that's in the world and look over the fact that she just blatantly told you, "Nah, I can't give up Christmas." And she looks so good in your head, you thinking, it'll come over time, right? She's blatantly telling you she don't want to give up lobster and crab. She love her seafood boils, and you looking over it, all because of what you looking at, right? You checking off all the wrong boxes. This is why in movies, right, even in real life, this is why they'll have women put on lingerie when they trying to trick a man to do something. You know, uh, she'll put on something sexy that he like when she knows she's gonna have a tough conversation, because they know that men are driven with their eyes, man. Right? Uh,
Con. I
uh,
mean, and that too, man, it's just a big part of why sometimes, bro, you gotta read, like the brother said, examine thyself. And we have to do this every single day, especially if you're a single brother and you're looking to court a woman, because you gotta be a plump fool to marry a woman that is not in the truth, just for the sake of, you probably known her for a long time and she's beautiful, and you want to be that brother to bring her in. I just feel like if I do what I'm supposed to do, she'll accept it. Like, no, bruh. She's giving you the telltale signs that are telling you, as it mentions in this very chapter that we're reading, to stay away from her, right? What does it say? Verse 4. "Use not much the company of a woman that is a singer, lest thou be taken with her attempts," right? Because a lot of you brothers like them women who sound like Fantasia, who could blow like Alicia Keys and sing like Beyonce. You know what I'm saying? But after all that's over with, you realize, boy, you would be a day late and a dollar short on everything you have, because she done took all your inheritance because you've given it to her, right? Verse 5.
right. You get with them women that got clout, bruh. Them women that got clout, even in the truth. Some women got clout in the truth. There was a woman that had clout in the truth. I don't think she's in the truth like that no more. But she was selling head wraps, man, early on. This is like, man, 2018,
Oh man.
2019. And she's no longer in the truth for real. But you get with a woman like that, your house is crazy now. I believe she was married and she's not married no more, right? You get with her and you realize, man, all she had was clout, right? Like the brother in the comment section said, if I could get this to show, my computer be working so slow. In the comment section though, B More said, a woman that takes care of the house doesn't have a wandering eye, and doesn't have a wandering eye is a cheat code, right? Meaning you know, she might have clout, but brother, is she checking out other brothers? Is she flirting with other brothers behind closed door? Is she taking care of the house? No, you having to take care of the house and take care of her, right? So you got to be able to, you know, not give in to clout, right? When it says a woman that is a singer, that's the first thing that came to my head was is men want women with clout, man. They want women that, oh, yeah, I understand she's not perfect, but it's Beyonce, bro. Yeah, I understand she's not perfect, but it's Janae Aiko, bro, right? And so you gonna be taking with her attempts every time and living a miserable life. A lot of brothers in the truth, we a lot of brothers in the truth, we give in to the fact of foreignness, right? Even though we're in the truth and we come to the realization that we're foreign, right? We still want something foreign. So it's like, bro, yeah, she tried to Ephraim though. Yeah, she tried to Simeon though. She a Benjamite though, bro. You know I love me some Benjamites.
She's Naphtali,
Yeah,
cuz.
we find out that you know, some of these celebrities are Israelites, and automatically our mind sometimes just automatically puts them in the truth. Like, yeah, man, I didn't know so-and-so's dad was black, bro. She really tribal Judah, bro. And then that gives you an excuse to listen to her music and to follow her on Instagram and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, you know Ariana Grande, bro. She really Issachar, bro. She really
Oh, what
Issachar,
about
bro.
that one girl that does the interviews?
Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby, when people was finding out she was half Mexican and whatnot.
I mean, that's on her mother's side though. So
Yeah. I'm just saying though. Just for an example.
yeah. I mean, that's exactly why, you know, you got to be blind, and you also have to be senseless in other areas of your life when you're dealing with women, or not necessarily dealing with women, because it's not a lesson about dealing with women, about when you're dealing with lust, right? Because it's about locating lust. When you're trying to locate lust, think about all the senses you have. And if you have senses, if you can see, if you can taste, if you can hear, you know what I'm saying? If you can touch and feel stuff, then you have areas that lust can creep in, right? That's why it says, gaze not on a maid, that thou fall not by those things that are precious in her. Because once you start gazing on a maid, man, you're literally starting to undress these women with your mind. And again, like the brother Azrael went into earlier, we're talking about lust of things that are forbidden. You know what I'm saying? You're not forbidding from looking at your wife and saying, dang, you know what I'm saying? Let me get some of that. You know, that's your wife. But you're forbidden from just looking at a normal woman on the streets and going, dang, I want to get up all in that. You know what I'm saying? Because there's levels to it. You know what I'm saying? And you got to be able to ignore the voices that you hear in your head, and ignore the feelings, or become immune to the feelings that you feel when that lust starts to build up in you. You know, if you're at the gym, and you know in the gym it's a place of naked exercise, like the brother Azrael went into like a year ago, 2 years ago, right? But if you go into the gym and you're seeing all these women wearing these short shorts and stuff like that, what you're gonna have to start doing is, if you're trying to get a workout in, you're gonna have to come in there and put your head down and literally grind. Put your head down, get your work in, and leave. Don't stop. Don't stop here. Collect 200. Just pass go and go right out the door.
Or don't even go there.
Right.
And it's also like this, right? Think about it. If we all lived as if we were blind, life would be so different, right? I wouldn't be on social media scrolling and thinking, like, the brothers just got on to me for buying a bunch of hats and stuff, right? I wouldn't buy a bunch of hats because they would all feel the same. I would only probably have like one or two. You know what I'm saying? Because I wouldn't know the difference between them. I wouldn't know the difference between the colors or anything like that, right? I wouldn't know by the time something new came out, it was time for me to transition to something newer, like a vehicle or something like that, right? For instance, I have a dog, right? And you know, a retriever, and so labs have supposed to have ears that flop over like this, right? But sometimes you get some in their ears, you know, doing something crazy, right? If I was blind and I was just loving the dog for what it was, I wouldn't worry about.
Right, and the dog was retrieving like it was supposed to and bringing
Right,
what you need.
I wouldn't worry about how the dog looked aesthetically, right? Stuff like that. Think about it, even in the truth. If we were living if we were blind and we were genuinely going off of people's spirits, it would be no fringe checking, right?
Yeah,
It wouldn't be no fringe checking. It wouldn't be no do you got the traditional fringes or you got ZCs, right? Because all if anything, I'm reaching down just to feel if I feel a tassel or any type of fringe, you all right? But then again, also it's also for lack of not saying this for real, just being as a hyperbole, it's like kind of to hell with visuals. Let me see where your heart is, right? You can actually tell if somebody had fringes on their heart, like people like to say, for real, for real. But
yeah, man. Going back to both those examples, like I said earlier, man, a lot of the relationships and the bonds we build are strong based off of sight, right? You love your dog because your dog looks aesthetically pleasing to you, right? You fall in love with little things that your dog does that you see your dog do, right? Even when it comes to, like the brother brought out, fringes, right? A lot of us, we grow closer to those that we see wear fringes. There's some Israelites that say, I wear my fringes on my heart. They grow closer to those Israelites that they see that don't wear fringes, all because of they feel a certain type of way about the way that they look at things, right? If we pretended that we were blind, a lot of these things wouldn't matter, right? A lot of these things wouldn't matter. They say that the tribe of Benjamin is what? Jamaica or Haiti. Can't remember, man. I don't really
Jamaica.
Jamaica, right? They say that the tribe of Benjamin is Jamaica, right? So they say Paul is tribe of Benji, right? So he gonna talk like them Jamaicans, man, kind of passionate and crazy all over the place. So when he talking about circumcision and uncircumcision, it's getting very confusing, right? But all he really just trying to say is, man, live as if you were blind, right? Live as the blind man, right? The blind man don't care if Christ is being looked at as a hypocrite and X, Y, and Z. The blind man is like, this man's actions are proving to me who he is. I don't care what he looks like to you or what he looks like he could be doing to you based off of rumors. I'm gonna believe him based off his action. He can heal my eyes, right? We got to live as if we were blind, and then the important things in life will stand out way further than what we see with our eyes, and that's how we can exit lust out of our lives.
man, it's just like just piggybacking on earlier, right? Think about it. If I got a vehicle and it's getting me from point A to point B all the time, it's working perfectly. It don't matter how old it gets or anything like that. If I'm blind and it's doing what it's supposed to do, when that new vehicle comes out, right, I'm not gonna want to have a need to transition to that newer vehicle. But I also wanted to give a disclaimer, man, for those that are listening. This is not to say that we believe you shouldn't be wearing fringes, right? So don't get that twisted, right? But what we're saying is, man, sincerity and genuality comes from living as if you were blind, right? And you couldn't even see the fringes on somebody. How then could you go about deciphering or discerning if this person was in the truth or not, right? Because a lot of times people wear fringes and they're the wickedest ones out here too. You know what I'm saying? And we all know that, but it's just to put something into perspective.
Con, and before the brother Azrael jumped down his verse, I want to say too, thinking about it like this, because these brothers can attest, because we always debating and arguing, and I'm always offering a different perspective, because I try to be, you know what I'm saying, like, I guess you could say, like, not even kill, but what's a better word? I try to be mediator or advocate, right? So I'm always gonna be the guy to say, man, it ain't nothing wrong with, wanting to have nice things in life, right? But when it comes to locating lust, sometimes your desire for nice things can cause you to, you know what I'm saying, for your lust to be vain to an extent, because all is vanity. And like the brother just brought out, you know, if you're blind, you're not even driving. So it doesn't matter what type of vehicle is in your garage, or you know what I'm saying, parked in your driveway. Long as you're able to get to where you need to go from A to B, or long as you're able to get with the things that you need to have, you're content, right? It's the same thing with thinking about everyday life. Sometimes, man, we got to kind of get off of, looking at new cars, looking at new houses. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, all of those things don't matter. Long as you got somewhere to lay your head, long as you got food on the table, clothes on your back, it doesn't matter, about any of the extra stuff that you want, because the lust of the flesh can consume you. But like the brother Azrael is saying, all this stuff starts with the eyes. You searching up houses 15 hours a day, just thinking about if you could get that big house, you know what I'm saying? That's 15 hours you could have spent going to make some money to get that house. Or that's 15 hours you could have spent reading. That's 15 hours you could have spent fasting, praying, giving alms, charity. We're wasting times, we're wasting too much time thinking about the things that we want to have just because it's not against the law to have nice things. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta kind of, put, I guess you could say, a salary cap on our lust of the eyes when it comes to certain things that are lawful to have, but not always expedient to have. You know what I'm saying? Pecan.
Hey, read verse 6 real quick, because this is a common cause right now.
Con. Verse number 6. Give not thy soul unto harlots, that thou lose not thine inheritance.
Right? Because a harlot knows if she a harlot. She knows if she love you or not, or if she just trying to get what she want, and she knows she can get it out of you. Right? A lot of the first thing they do is they get what you, marry you because of what you have and what you can provide, right? Or what you can't provide. They don't care these days. And what they do is they make a fake argument. Now you're divorced, and now she's suing for half of everything. You losing your inheritance. A lot of you brothers is losing your inheritance, finding yourself in court battles, all because of lust, right? All because of lust, man. You're gonna give your inheritance away because of lust, right, brother? And sisters, right? Sister, if you come to me for advice and you say, "Yeah, I'm dealing with this man. He's not in the truth yet." What you coming to me for then? And then if you follow that up by, "I've been trying to bring the truth out to them. They slowly come on. What you bring that up for? We at a point now that we know, hey, if they hear it, it's gonna stick or not." You know what I'm saying? And if they not in the truth, they not in the truth, right? Brother, you come to me and the first thing you tell me is, "Yeah, I like this girl, but she's not in the truth." That's a red flag. Live as if you was blind. That's a red flag, right? Let's read verse. What verse was it that I wanted? Verse.
You wanted verse 8.
Let's read verse 8.
Con. Hey, like the brother just said real quick, better choose the right one or pick the kiddies up. Con, man. But verse number 8, it says, "Turn away thine eye from a beautiful woman, and look not upon another's beauty. For many have been deceived by the beauty of a woman, for herewith love is kindled as a fire."
Right. So why am I bringing this out? Remember, I said that the next portion of this lesson we was going into was the deception of emotion. The brother Foster said it in a different way, was you lose all your senses, right? Don't be deceived in your senses. Don't be deceived in your emotions, right? Remember what Ahab's name means in Hebrew is love. It says forthwith, herewith love is kindled as a fire. He loved Jezebel, right? He fulfilled, he did the opposite of this verse, turn away the eye from a beautiful woman, right? Susanna, yes, she was beautiful, but she kept the laws of God, right? But even her beauty caused men to sin, right? And that's the power that women got, man. A woman could be as law abiding to God's laws as she wants to be. She could still cause men to fall. That's the power that women got, right? So imagine if you dealing with a woman that's not in the truth, that's not accepting of the truth. All she doing is fulfilling your needs physically, your wants physically. She's deceived your emotions, right? I got another precept on that, on deceiving your emotions. Let's go to 1 Samuel 16:7.
Con, man, and y'all, we got to understand we can't be too emotionally vulnerable, as men and women that believe in the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, because we make ourselves too emotionally vulnerable. Sometimes people drain you emotionally. You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes people kind of finesse their way into, I guess you could say, controlling your life through emotions. So you just kind of gotta have an emotional wherewithal.
Con, man. Con. Right? 1 Samuel 16:7.
This is 1 Samuel chapter 16 and 7, it says, "But the Lord said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart."
Right. And this is why I said what I said to the women earlier, right? You looking for your husband to be strong, mighty, right? He into guns, right? He got a chiseled face, all of that. You looking for your man to be a certain characteristic, not knowing that, hey, look, if the Lord's not dealing with that man, he can die. If the Lord not dealing with that man can be overthrown. If the Lord not dealing with that man, he can make your life hell, right? So stop looking with your eyes, sister. Locate the lust, right? And look at how the Lord sees. And also go into the nation. You know, a nation wants to follow a strong man, unlike America, where we vote Joe Biden in. But a nation wants to follow a strong man. So at this time when they was looking for a king, they was overlooking David because David didn't fit the appearance of a tall, strong man, right? They weren't looking at David, right? But if you have a tall, strong man, guess what? He could put you in slavery. He could steal from you. He can make you tributaries. He could do all things that you don't want to happen, right? But if the Lord is dealing with the man, regardless of how he looks, right? If the Lord is dealing with a sister, regardless of how he looks, guess what? You're gonna have peace in the house. You're gonna have prosperity, right? But you got to stop letting what you see affect your emotions. That's all it is nowadays in this whole election here in Babylon is people are letting their eyes tell them how to feel, right? They're letting, we know that there's psychology behind colors. We know that there's psychology behind, you know, if they see white or if a person has blue on, it's more welcoming and X, Y, and Z, or if this person is wearing these stripes or whatever, is more, it goes on, all these candidates before they get on the television screen, whatever they're wearing, they're the people that dress them that way for a certain purpose. If they know that this debate is going to be centered around this, you should wear the striped tie, or you should wear the plain color blue tie, right? Everything from what you see on commercials, everything is geared towards evoking emotion out of you, right? So you have to live as if you was blind. That goes into locating lust, brothers, right? Don't look at a woman's stature or her countenance, right? Look at her heart. Look at her heart. And I know this seems like a cliche lesson, man. This seems like something that we hear all the time, but brothers is not getting it. Brothers ain't getting it. Brothers is not looking at these girls' heart. Yeah, I understand the women in the Bible that was married to some of our forefathers, some of the patriarchs. They may have not been in the truth. Yeah, you might have a point. They might have been in other religions like Rachel and Leah and their dad Laban. Yeah, but you have the option to try to find somebody that is in the truth, right? So do it, because let's be honest, you're not Jacob. You're not David. And even David fell short to women. You're not Solomon. And even Solomon fell short to women, right? After knowing all this knowledge. You're not none of those men. Right? So stop trying to look for something to make your life harder than what it is. Because guess what? If them men couldn't handle women, I know for a fact you can't. You can lie to yourself and say, yeah, I can handle it. It's going to take some time. X, Y, and Z. I'm going to whip her into shape. No, you can't, brother. The only people that can whip women into shape is the Most High God, the Spirit of God itself, right? So moving on, right? Deceiving emotions, right? I'm going to go to 1 John chapter 4 and verse 1, which we brought this out the other day. What did somebody say in the comments?
They're bringing out 1 Corinthians 11, talking about every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, the thorn at his head. But we're not going to address that right now. This is the book of 1 John chapter 4.
I will say to that aspect, if you want to go into that, we're not praying and we're not prophesying right now. We're teaching. So, but I appreciate the love, brother. because I know that's where it's coming out of. We might do a lesson, we may not on that topic, but you know that topic is deeper than you may know, right? No shade, but let's get back into the lesson. 1 John 4:1.
1 John chapter 4 and verse 1. It says, Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God, because many false prophets are going out into the world.
Right? Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits. We got to try these spirits, man. And brothers is not trying the spirits. For example, right? Brothers is carnal. I don't mean to get on the brother that just said something, but if you were blind, if we was truly living like we were blind, you wouldn't know if somebody had something on their head or not. If you was just listening to it as a podcast. But because you have eyes, we allow our eyes to judge the situation, to form relationships, to form emotions out of us before we even judge or try the spirit. We got to be able to judge and try these spirits, and that's how we're going to locate lust, right? Stop trying the flesh. That's all we do is we try the flesh. Brothers, when they meet a girl, they try the flesh. The first thing they do is they show the girl that they courting because they know she look good and they want to get the praise of men. Yeah, this is who I'm courting. Yeah, this the girl I'm courting right here, right? She looked good, and you gonna get praise from other men. Dang, okay, I see you. Yeah, she cool. She look good. Dang, she beautiful, bro. But what about her spirit though? If a brother asks you, is she in the truth? Right? Hey, brothers is notorious for this. Yeah, that's who I'm courting. She in the truth? Nah, she not in the truth right now. Why are you courting her then? What are you talking about? Why you even show me her? Because you're not even gonna end up with her probably, right? Brothers is notorious for that. Nah, she not in the truth right now. Nah, she not in. So how'd you find her though? That's the root. The root of that lust is how'd you find her? You found it because you was Instagram, Facebook scrolling, Twitter scrolling. You found her because you was in a restaurant and you got the waitress's number, right? You ain't find her studying this word. You ain't find her, you know, in a godly sense. You know what I'm saying? These are red flags, and this is how you can locate lust.
Con, a lot of times too, man. Again, when you come into the truth and you still associate with people from your past life when you was living in sin, you got to think about it like this. Sometimes you sit up here and you know a girl that you've been knowing a long time all your life, and in the world she was attracted to you, and even in the truth she's still attracted to you. So you try to give it a go, and realize that again, going back to what we were saying earlier, you're giving her your inheritance, right? You just got to kind of remind yourself that it's not of you that giveth the increase, it's of the Most High God. So we got to stop thinking that because we live a certain way that they just gonna get on board, because everybody wasn't on the same page. There was Jews who accepted Christ and there was Jews who rejected Christ, right? But regardless of who accepted or rejected him, Christ lived his life the same. But he wasn't sitting up here saying, well, why don't you? He wasn't sitting up here telling these people that rejected him, well, why don't you reject me? Please, please, please. I mean, why do you reject me? Please, please, please accept me. He wasn't begging them, you know what I'm saying, and forgetting who he was and his purpose to go and tell them to pretty please accept him, right? The message was sent. People delivered the message. People brought the word. You know what I'm saying? They felt how they felt. He had to do what he had to do regardless, right? And sometimes we got to remind ourselves that we're not having the I guess you could say we're not having not the motion, but we're not Christ. We're not David, like the brother was just saying earlier. We're not Solomon. We're not none of these great men in the scriptures. Even Abraham, like the Most High uh had recorded in Sirach 44. We're just worms. And sometimes we kind of get a little above ourselves in our emotions because we think that because we're following the laws that everybody's just going to accept it. You got to remind yourself when locating lust, right? When dealing with lust, that just because you live a certain lifestyle doesn't mean that a woman is just going to fall to that just because you're an attractive man. And just because she's an attractive woman doesn't mean that you got to subjugate yourself to live a hellacious life to get this woman, all because you think that you can bring her in the truth. Let the Most High do the work, you know what I'm saying? And if you're going to look for anything, look with no emotions, no feelings, no attachments, no none of that.
Right. So I want to hone in on something the brother just said. You're not going to have to live a crazy life just to keep the girl, right? I want to read some of the notes that I took on this verse right here. It says, we're not trying spirits, we're trying the flesh, right? We're not getting to know people. We're seeing if they pass the ear and the eye test. Study your actions and the actions of them and how y'all act together, right? This is the point. When y'all get together, is it easy to be spiritual or do you fall short often? Are you scared or too shy to pray, to play truth music or gospel, to read the Bible, to bring out the truth around them because it might rub them the wrong way, or you're in fear that it may push them away from you before you can make them yours, right? You got to think about these things. A lot of times when you locate in lust, right, you got to study your actions when you're around the person that you're trying. When I get around this person, do I feel free to be the Most High's son, the Most High's daughter, or am I putting on a front for a little while until I can get to that point? If you putting on a front, or if you don't feel free to, if you don't feel free to, for example, we're slaves to righteousness and we're free from sin. If you don't feel free from sin when you're around somebody, meaning you don't feel free to cast down every negative, every sinful act, guess what? That person is not for you. There's no hope in that situation, right? You're never gonna if you're giving up the if you're giving up your right to feel free in Christ and the Most High and His law, statutes, and commandments, I mean, you're giving up too much. That's how you know you've fallen to lust, right? The last thing I was gonna say is, at the end of the day, we have to stop blaming lust all the time and blame ourselves for making dumb decisions, right? A just man falls, yet gets up, but he's not letting the same thing knock him down. You have to learn from what knocks you down and repent. The last verse I got today is in Acts chapter 17 and verse 30, right? One of the first precepts I learned on repentance, right? Acts 17 and verse 30. Right? And then we'll have the brothers have their final words, and then we'll close out after that for this Sabbath. Right? Acts 17 and verse 30.
Khan, this is the book of Acts, chapter 17 and verse number 30. In the times of this ignorance, God winked at, but now commandeth all men everywhere to repent.
Right? You know what I'm saying? You may have messed up, but you got to learn from what you messed up from. You're no longer ignorant once you've messed up from it. Once you've messed up, right? The reason why you're no longer ignorant is because you know it's a mistake now. So you're not ignorant that it's not a mistake. And with that being said, you can't make that mistake again. God's going to wink at the mistake, but now He commands you to repent, to turn away from that mistake. Right? The brothers got anything?
Khan, dang, I forgot that account, man. I didn't forget it, but like I just can't remember where it's at. But I ain't gonna dwell too much on it. We'll got to bring it out. Pretty much, man. We just got to control. We got to locate this lust, right? We got to locate it, and the way you locate it is by, again, like the brother said earlier, examining yourself daily. Get into understanding your sensors, right? Get into understanding your triggers in a sense, because a lot of times when you're going through therapy in the world, the doctors per se, the therapists, they like to talk about, well, what triggers you, and maybe they don't ask that question directly. They just listen to you speak, and then they pick up on every time you explain where you had a relapse into something, and they that's how they identify the trigger. So sometimes, man, we need to just identify the things that trigger us, right? And like the brothers brought out beautifully, a lot of times it starts through what we see, because we're not controlling the things that we look at, man. You're not controlling the amount of screen time you have on a daily basis. Therefore, as you scrolling freely, you may not going out to be looking for lust, but actually it comes find you, right? Because that's how it works. Lust will come and find you to tempt you, right? So that way you can fall victim to the same thing over again. Control the amount of screen time you have, right? do things like, not being more disciplined when it comes to like fasting. Try to fast more, try to pray more. There's a lot of things that we can do to locate lust and overcome it, but we have to start with, again, doing the little things that it takes, right? Put your glasses on, put your shades on, and like a lot of people say in the world, how they blind to the BS. Well, we need to become blind to the lust. We need to become blind and emotionless to the lust, right? People like to talk about, oh, I got my heart broke, so I don't feel no type of way. I can't love again. Well, when you keep continuously breaking the Most High's heart, then you need to understand that you need to develop some sense of not feeling when it comes to dealing with lust, because the same lust that you keep falling victim to is breaking the Lord's heart, and eventually, man, it's not gonna end well for you, right? So we just got to be better as a nation of people. Mighty lesson. And with that, I say Shabbat Shalom. I'll praise to the Most High willing. Everyone has a blessed Sabbath day of rest.
No, I ain't got nothing to say, man. Just live as if you were blind, man. And it'll bring about a sincerity to your life. And like our king said, if you're not helping to gather, you scatter it.
Man. So with that, man, we're gonna say, man, hope you guys have a peaceful Shabbat. Hope this was edifying to the brothers and to the sisters, man. And for those who that will watch this in the future, man, we say Shalom.
Shalom.
Also,
Shalom.
we'll be downtown Macon, man, right in front of Dozier Law Firm if you're in the Middle Georgia area.